everybody, my name's Emily and I like to call myself an eco warrior. Welcome to my garden. This is my toadstool and this is a nice big pot of mint and parsley. I've come here today to read you a book. I'm the kind of person that fights for the planet, and I do a weekly video about, or started it just this year, about how to look after the world, and I just thought that telling stories would be a nice way to share my love of the world. And so I asked the man that wrote this book, Mr Charles Fuge, whether I could read his book, The Terrible Greedy Fossifoo, and he said yes, that I can. That he wrote this book because he wanted to share his love of the planet and how he thought we should be looking after it. Let's have a read. The Terrible Greedy Fossifoo by Charles Fuge. Look at all these wonderful creatures. The creatures of the great green forest loved their home. The trees were covered with delicious fruits. The bushes were bursting with juicy berries. And everyone lived happily together. That is, until the terrible, greedy Fossifoo arrived. He had come from far, far away, crashing over mountains, flattening grasslands, stomping through lakes and rivers. And now he was hungry. The forest had always provided plenty for all the creatures, but now they could only watch as the greedy Fossifoo helped himself to everything he could find. Look at him go. Ooh. Soon there was nothing left to eat in the whole forest, but the Fossifoo was so greedy that still he wanted more. And now he was angry. What's he angry for? Watch this, he roared, and he tore a tree right out of the ground. This made the Fossifoo feel much better. So he tore up another, and another, and another. "Aren't I big?" he bellowed. But nobody heard. Everyone had run away. Soon the Fossifoo had torn up every last tree in the forest, and now he was hot. Look at those scared faces. Boo! "Watch this!" he boomed, and to cool down he jumped right into the lake with a gigantic splash and emptied it. "Aren't I clever?" he bellowed, but nobody heard. All the fish had disappeared. By this time the Fossifoo had bashed, crashed, munched and splashed, and now he was thirsty. "Watch this!" he yelled. Then he reached up into the sky, grabbed a rain cloud and rang it out, right into his enormous mouth. Then he emptied all the other clouds, just for fun. "Aren't I..." The Fossifoo spun around to see who was watching. Nobody was. The Fossifoo looked around. Nothing moved. The Fossifoo listened. Not a sound. The Fossifoo waited for an hour, then a day, then a week. A year passed by and the forest was completely dry and bare. Still, nobody came. "What have I done?" whispered the Fossifoo. And he started to cry. Well, he cried and cried and cried until he had no tears left to cry. If only he had taken care of the beautiful forest. And then he noticed it, beneath his feet, watered by all the tears. A tiny seed had sprouted. The Fossifoo knew that the seed would need more water if it was to grow big and strong, but there was not a single drop left in the forest. So, the Fossifoo leapt up and raced to the faraway mountains, where he carefully gathered clouds from the mountain tops and hurried them back to where the forest once stood. There, he gave each cloud a gentle squeeze and out poured the rain. One by one, other seeds hidden in the dry earth began to sprout. Cared for by the Fossifoo, some seeds grew into tall trees and began to bear fruit. Others blossomed into bushes bursting with berries. By now the Fossifoo was very hungry, but this time he didn't guzzle all the fruit and berries. This time he took just enough to fill his empty belly. The rest he either planted in the ground or left to ripen on the trees and bushes. Before long, rainwater filled the lake, and the great green forest was beautiful once more. Have you been to a place like this? Isn't it beautiful? There was just one thing missing: the forest creatures. The Fossifoo would have to get them back. So he filled his arms with fruit and set off to find them. He trod gently over the mountains, softly through the grasslands, and carefully across the lakes and rivers. Everywhere he went, he told the creatures that he found how lovely the forest had become. He tempted them with his tasty treats, and he promised never to stomp or bash or crash ever again. One by one, they followed the Fossifoo home. Now he was happy. Look at how happy they all are. Is there someone on Fossifoo's nose? Cute. From that day on, no creature in the great green forest went without food or shelter again. Everyone lived happily together as the Fossifoo watched over their beautiful home, making absolutely sure that everything was shared equally. And who would argue with a terrible, not so greedy Fossifoo? And that is the end. I hope you've enjoyed the book today, and thank you so much to Charles for letting me read the book. Have a wonderful day. Go and enjoy the outside world for me. Bye.